And so what you have here is a graphic representation of this idea that domestic violence perpetrators' behaviors, those choices that they make, and very much the model is based on the idea that domestic violence perpetrators are making a choice or a series of choices to harm kids and to harm the kid's parent, the other parent. And so what you see is that graphically represent this idea that perpetrators' patterns, the actions they've taken to harm the other adult, the course of control they've engaged in, the actions they've taken to harm the kids, that you can paint a picture of how we get from those choices and those specific behaviors to harm to kids. And you begin to see that kind of classically what's been looked at is when we think about the nexus between domestic violence and kids is did the kids see it, did the kids hear it, or did the kids know about it? And then we're very incident focused, and we're very much focused, and rightly so, that these are important things where kids can get hurt, where the victim is often getting physically harmed. This is where you see the connection between trauma and children, and really some of the work that's being done about trauma-informed systems really has been helpful around this. And what we need to really say is this has been the starting point for our conversation, and we need to get much broader in our assessment. If we really want to be in alignment with kids, alignment with the lives of victims, really clearly be able to articulate how perpetrators harm kids, we need to add in at minimum these other two pieces here, which is how domestic violence perpetrators affect the family ecology and how they affect the partner's parenting. And I want people, as they're looking at this, to think not just about this as a framework, but it's sort of as how does this show up in our assessment practice? How does this show up in our documentation? And one of the simplest ways is, do our case notes, do our conversations tell the story and say, this is the actions the domestic violence perpetrator took. This is he tried to strangle the children, tried to strangle mother in front of the children. He's been physically assaulted repeatedly to her in front of the children. He's called her names in front of the children. All these are parenting choices. And then he's done things to destabilize the family around income, around housing instability, and to name what those things are and describe that this family is in poverty because he's been arrested and lost his job. This family is in poverty or in worse financial shape because he's caused her to lose her job through stalking, through moving the family, through her not wanting to go to work because she's got bruises and injuries and she's embarrassed to show up to work. Maybe she's been physically injured and actually can't do the job she was trained to do. And so what happens is, are we telling that story and telling it from the perspective, and this is what it's done to the children? Can we tell the story about how the perpetrator's choices around violence that might lead to eviction have created more housing instability and maybe forced the family to go into shelter, homeless shelter, into domestic violence shelter, and all the things that came along with it in terms of economic disruptions, decrease of connection to usually social networks and families. And so what we're asking exactly as school, and what we're asking is how are we letting this information about how we know perpetrators harm kids and harm families beyond just the trauma and beyond the physical harm that we've often been very focused on? And how do we add to that, not take away from that, where we're really looking at this is a picture we can paint in terms of the kids and the impact it has on the family, and really to see that every time he does something on these pathways, that he's actually making a parenting choice, and to use that language in the way we talk to her and talk to him and talk about the children.